As if running a successful business in Maine isn't challenging enough, we've asked several of the leaders chosen as Women to Watch for 2009 to come on the show and in a few brief minutes under the lights and on statewide television tell us exactly how they did it. I'm very excited today to have as my guest Kathie Leonard, CEO of Auburn Mfg in Mechanic Falls, Beth Sturtevant, President of CCB Inc., a construction company in Westbrook, and Wendy Newmeyer, owner of Maine Balsam Fir Products in West Paris. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And first of all, let me say congratulations.
Thank you.
This is great. I'm very excited about this program. But I'm also, I got to admit, I'm a little bit nervous too. We started the program this year. We've done 22 shows. And this is the first program where I've been the only male on the entire program of all the segments. So
well, now you know how it feels.
Exactly. And that's where the nervousness comes through. I feel this is going to be interesting and great. And I'm really proud of Manienbz for kind of doing this, you know. But it's also, as a male interviewer, I'm thinking, is this a minefield? Am I going to step on something? This is going to be great. Thanks for coming.
Relax.
Okay,
yeah,
good. I feel better already. Thank you. All right, so let's get right to it. You've been selected as Women to Watch because of your statures as leaders in your businesses and organizations in Maine. So tell us, give me just an example of what's some kind of a leadership challenge that you've faced that you've overcome.
I'll jump in because
ahead.
I think I'm the oldest, and I've been in business 30 years.
Okay.
I've been in business before it was cool to be a woman in business, I think.
Right.
I'd say I was the biggest hurdle that I had to clear in order to be a good business person and be a good business leader, because I didn't grow up with those kinds of role models. And so, you know, I always, you know, I liked, I didn't mind being in the man's world.
Mm-hmm.
I liked being a team player. Mm-hmm. I lived in a neighborhood with mostly boys. I grew up that way. I could live in the hierarchical sort of work environment and did just fine. But so I think I was my biggest hurdle, and I just had to change the way I thought about it and start saying, "Gee, I could do this."
Okay, so that was your
That's
challenge,
a confidence.
changing the way you thought. That's
Absolutely.
what you had to overcome. Great.
I've never
Wendy.
really thought that being a woman was a disadvantage for any reason.
Okay.
And I've been starting businesses since I was 8. And I just recently found out that my grandmother was also quite an entrepreneur.
Really?
When she first came from Hungary, she wanted to start a couple of businesses, but was not encouraged at all back in the 1920s. I have always been encouraged.
So it sounds like for you it was a kind of a natural progression. It was just the way you do business. It's the way people work. And
It's the way I live and breathe.
Okay. Okay. Great. Beth.
And I would have to say that my challenge was my industry.
Construction.
Construction.
Why is that?
There's not a lot of women leaders in
Okay.
construction.
Right.
And when I made the leap from being an employee to being a minority owner, and then made the big leap to majority ownership and actually taking on the role of president and the leadership responsibility, you know, that was big. That was very, very big.
Okay. Well, I want to ask about Maine. It's Manienbz. So we're talking about business in Maine, and you've done business in Maine. Maine is it's a rural state. In many ways, it can be a traditional state, but it also can be progressive too. And depending on, I mean, we have 2 women senators, and we had women who were heading up our legislature last year. Those kinds of things. But what is a business environment like in Maine? Is it different here, being a woman leader in business, than it is for other states? Do you have any experience with that?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think I've never felt that Maine held me back. I think it's a very good place to start a business. I think the only danger in being a business person, being a woman, you stand out a lot more and you get a lot of attention, and you're famous for that 15 minutes. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it's not.
Right.
I've tried to keep my head about me the whole time, because I've had plenty of recognition and accolades over the years, and I really appreciate it. But if I realized that if I was in another state, let's say I was in New York State,
Okay.
I'd be one small guppy.
Interesting.
You know, not a big fish.
Okay. So
and you need
in this
to
sense,
remember that.
because of the size of Maine,
Absolutely.
this was an advantage, but also kind of paints a target there as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Others doing
Well,
business in Maine? Go ahead.
I think that it's a very easy place to do business. It's also a very easy place to network, because in any industry, it's just a small group of players, whether you're in manufacturing business or whether you're playing basketball. You get to know people statewide in a very quick way. And in a very sort of paradoxical way, that really works, because actually just like Kathie said, I grew up in New Jersey where I was literally a speck of sand on the beach.
Right.
But I found also very easy access to our legislators, to news papers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very flat state in that sense. You can get to the tops of organizations pretty quickly.
Maine's a small town.
Exactly.
That's what they say.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it is.
Beth, how about you? What's it like being in Maine, a woman leader in Maine?
It's what I know.
Okay.
While we work in other states,
Right.
I don't have the same presence in the business community in the other states that we work in. So I don't have a lot of experience in working in other states outside of what I read or meet women at conferences and other types of events. So I find it a great state to work in. People are very accepting, and it has not been an issue as a women leader in this state.
That's good to hear. All right, now it's time to give your advice. You're leaders, you've done very well, you're successful. What kind of advice would you give to other women who are interested in advancing their careers, who are interested in becoming a leader in either a business or an organization?
Well, you want to make sure to really count the true costs of doing business here. There are some certainly higher costs, whether it's insurance or heating or transportation. Those things can be factors. But I believe also Maine is very wealthy in the human capital. Anytime we've had to find new employees, it's been staggering how many people are available in even a rural, isolated region.
Beth?
It's pretty easy for me to answer that one.
Okay.
Make sure that you find your good business partners, your financial partners early on, and get to know them as your best friend, your banker. In my industry, insurance. In my industry, bonding is hugely. The other bit of advice I would say is, usually, if you're an entrepreneur, you usually feel comfortable in one particular area. And a lot of people and women don't feel comfortable in the areas of finance and financial accounting. And don't forget that. You've got to focus on financial accounting.
I've had the opportunity of reading the 6 profiles of all the winners, and I think 3 or 4 mentioned that exact same thing. And you did too in yours, talking about, I can't remember the quote you had, but you have to love your books if you're going to be, you have to be interested in business and the financial side, even though that may not be your frame of reference. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
Great, okay, good. Okay, so that's advice for women. How about some advice for men working for women who have women leaders? Anything that
Here's my advice.
Yeah, here's your shot. Go ahead.
Lighten up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think
Good.
Because you did ask us to think about that ahead of time, and I thought, I deal with men all the time. I mean, I've been part of industry associations. I've done a lot of committee work, and I've been on a board of a bank here in Maine. I was the first woman on KeyBank's board way back. It was 27 guys and me, and yet. And I just say the more, I think the men have enjoyed it, and the more they, it's about the issues. It's not about male, female, and I think business is transgender.
Good. So we've moved beyond.
Oh, absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Others?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I don't have advice for men.
Good.
It's not my style, for one thing, to have advice for men.
Right.
I think women lead differently than men lead, but that has nothing to do with trying to give man advice on how to work with a woman. I mean, it's a people. Business is people.
Okay, men or women, they're people.
That's right.
Good. How about you?
I don't think that women are as competitive in business, although, putting that aside, as men, I think that business isn't like a football game where one team has to win and one team has to lose. And certainly in working together, we're always looking for the win-win. And how can we make the next person's job easier? And so that would be...
I like to think of it as women take a little more holistic approach to business. We're not as task-oriented. We're a little more what's good for everybody.
And collaborative, too.
Collaborative.
I find women a lot more willing to collaborate.
And I want to talk more about that. We're out of time for this segment, but we're going to come back. For those viewers who want to come and watch this on the website, we're going to do some afterthought segments, and I want to ask them more about leadership styles and management styles. Are they different for women and men, and what that means toward business and the future of business in Maine and the country. So, thanks for being here.
Super, thank you.
This is great, and stick around.